Hi, everyone. I'm Connie Zabo-Schmucker, Advocacy Director at Bicycle Garage Indy, and welcome to Bicycling Lunch and Learn. This is our September 2024. This is our second to last one this year. So we're going to be talking about Car Free Day Indy and Commuter Connect with Amanda Meyer from CERTA and Commuter Connect. But I wanted to touch base on a couple of things. Like I said, this is our second to last Lunch and Learn for this year. We've got one more, which is a perennial favorite of riding in the cold and dark, and it will be cold and dark in about a month, especially for bicycle commuters. And so Roy Sparks will be doing that presentation next month, and he always has great tips, and other people share great tips as well. And let's see, then on November 2nd from 11 to 2, we will have staffed bicycle parking, encouraging people to bike to the polls. It'll be in Lugar Plaza on the south side of the City County building on the Saturday before the election from 11 to 2. So come by bike, vote, and that will be happening in about 6 weeks or so. And then let's see, so we've got those two. And then I also wanted to mention kind of going along the lines of going by bike or some other means of transportation other than personal vehicle. There is also America Walks does a week without driving, and it is September 30th to October 6th. And I've got the link in the chat. So if you want to check that out as well, that's kind of a national thing. They've been doing it for a couple of years. So do Car Free Day Indy next week as a preamble to then giving up your car for a whole week. With that, I think that's all we've got on the calendar. As always, this will be recorded. You can look at it later as well. And you can also look at all of the rest of our things at the Bicycling Lunch and Learn webpage. I'll put the link for that as well. And, hopefully, if you have any ideas for topics for next year, we'll be looking at those over the next couple of months and deciding what we want to do for 2025. So feel free to give us any feedback or copy, topics that you would like us to cover in 2025. And we'd be happy to hear from some different ideas or if you like the ideas that we've already done and continue to do them. So with that, I will hand this over to Amanda with Commuter Connect.
Good afternoon. Hope everyone is having a great day so far. My name is Amanda. I'm our Assistant Director and Mobility Manager at CERTA, which is Central Indiana Regional Transportation Authority, if you're not familiar. So I have been with the agency about 2.5 years now, and I was our carpool vanpool program manager, but transition now. I wear many hats now. I still help with that quite a bit, but focus a lot on our workforce connector and some other programs that I'll just go through a brief overview of everything that we do. And starting with, CERTA began in 2004. And it was based on some grants available to lower the emissions in the environment as well as traffic congestion. So we really want to help people get connected to opportunities, but to do so in a way that they're not just taking a single occupancy vehicle. And so we help with different resources with that grant money to give them these options to do that. We help a lot of employers around Central Indiana. We covered 10 different counties as you look here on this map, and anyone is eligible for these resources, whether they live or work in one of these counties. We have some people that, for example, live in Bloomington and they commute into Marion County or one of the other counties, and they take advantage of some of our programs. Or maybe they live down in Brown County and they come on up too, or in Terre Haute and come over. So we have people, we have a database that people can get registered for free if you're not familiar, in our Commuter Connect program. And with that, they are able to get a free carpool match. So we have all these different ways that people can participate and do something other than driving alone. And that's what we encourage. And when they get registered with us, it will give them their free carpool match list. It will tell them if there's a van pool available for them to join. Of course, if they're on the Indigo bus line, and then it can also connect them with other bikers. So I'm sure you guys like to hear that. And we, of course, also encourage walking to work and teleworking as well. And that's been one positive that's come out of COVID and all of the changes that we had to make is that there are quite a few employers now that have gone hybrid or even work from home exclusively. And so you think about the emissions that are lowered when we make the choice not to drive into the office if it's not a need. We have the ability to meet face to face through this screen right here without having to put those emissions out there. So much appreciated of that part of COVID, but I think we'll leave the rest of it back in history, right? So anybody can get registered. Like I said, when you register, it's super easy. People just have to put in their home address and their work address and then their work schedule, and then it's able to send them a free match list via email. And so they receive that match list, and we joke that it's like a match.com for carpooling because they'll receive their list of potential matches, and it's up to them to contact one another and decide if they're going to be a good fit. Because some people, they may have a preference to drive. Maybe I know people like that. My husband, for example, he prefers to be the driver. And so that's okay. They can talk amongst themselves and decide who will be the driver or if they'll take turns. They also discuss if they're going to exchange gas money or if they'd like to take turns driving. In a lot of cases, we have folks that don't have a car for whatever reason. Maybe that's because that's their preference, or maybe financially it's a burden for them, or for a period of time, maybe their car is out of commission. And so they're able to find a carpool match even for a temporary season. We have some people that love to do it to save money. Other people love to do it to help the environment. And others, it's an absolute need. And that's how they're getting connected to work. So anyone can register. Like I said, we have over 12,000 people registered in central Indiana in those 10 counties that I showed you. And so the more people that we get registered, the more people have options to find a match, whether that's for carpooling, van pooling, finding somebody to commute to work via bike with in their little bike group. It really opens up the options. With carpooling, a lot of times it's 2, sometimes 3 or 4 people, but we do offer a van pool option I wanna make sure that you know about. So as you're in the community talking to people, I know a lot of what you guys do is biking, but maybe that's not an option for someone because of where they work, but you still wanna encourage some alternative transportation options. We partner with Commute with Enterprise, just like the car rental company Enterprise. They have a nationwide program with this commute program. And we partner with them because they have a turnkey experience where people can rent a vehicle and someone is what we call the van pool coordinator. And they only need 4 people to start a van pool. So let's say 3 people are carpooling to work every day. They would just need to find one more person and we would be able to put them in a van pool. And so instead of putting the wear and tear on their personal vehicle or having to worry what to do if the vehicle breaks down or they need to get new tires on it, they would be using a Commute with Enterprise vehicle. And there is a monthly cost associated with it, but it's very affordable because that cost is split amongst the riders. And then on top of that, CERTA pays $50 per month per rider. as long as they meet a minimum occupancy and they're driving it so many days per a month. So it becomes very affordable. We even have some employers that either fully subsidize the rest of the cost or they pay a part of it. So they might say on top of Certus $50, we'll pay an additional 25 a rider. And we cannot have a paid driver. That's a common question of, can we pay an employee to be the driver and use it as a shuttle service? No, we can't do that. That would sort of defeat the purpose and it goes against the FTA funds that we receive for this. But some employers get creative. They might say, hey, if you drive the van pool, we'll, give you $10 extra a week on your paycheck. Or they'll find different ways to incentivize that without actually paying the driver directly. So it is much like renting a car where the person needs to be 25 and they would do that background check on them and make sure they have a good driving history. Of course, they have to have their license for at least 5 years. But the driver is a volunteer and we do help. We work with the van pool coordinator to find additional riders if they need it. We help plan the schedule and the routes. We can help find a safe parking spot. So they are welcome to park it at their home, but some choose to park at maybe a church parking lot or a grocery store parking lot so that they can all meet in one location. And then we also help with setting up the payment. So love a van pool program. We had, for the month of August, there were 15 van pools running. And that number fluctuates all the time based on the employers that need it, or sometimes employers have layoffs and then they do get rid of some of the vans and then they'll add more employees and it goes back up. For anyone that's registered with CERTA in that database that I talked about, that also uses an alternative form of transportation, and they work for what we call a participating employer, they receive up to 5 free emergency ride homes each year. So this is an option where, let's say that someone chooses to ride in a van pool to work. They didn't drive, they rode in that van pool, and they're told in the middle of their shift, like, hey, we don't need you after 3 p.m. But then the rest of the van pool is still staying until 6 p.m. Well, they have a couple of options. They can hang out until the van pool leaves. They could pay buku bucks for a Uber, or they can use the emergency ride home. So the emergency ride home is there for when situations occur. Maybe someone's sick and they need to finish their shift early. Maybe they get a call that their kiddo is sick at school and they need to leave. Whatever that circumstance is, as long as they've taken an alternative form of transportation and they work with a participating employer and they're registered in our database, they can get up to 5 free emergency ride homes annually. We partner with Z-Trip and they would send a cab out to pick them up and picks them up at the work location and drops them off at home. So I do want to make sure you know what a participating employer is, because that might be your question is like, okay, well, this sounds great for me or for someone that I know, but what is a participating employer? It's so simple. It's just an organization, an employer that partners with us to educate their employees on these free resources we have. So we have tons and tons and tons, hundreds of employers in our database that we partner with. And you can actually go to certa.us and see the full list of employers that are working with us. And it looks different for each employer because some of them are very active and they want us on site monthly or even multiple times a month. And others, because of restrictions they have or the way that they function, they may have us on site a couple times a year for their health and benefits fair. Or maybe they have us come do a lunch and learn or come educate their leadership team. So the leaders, as people call in or have issues with their attendance, they can say, hey, are you using these free resources to get to work? But for a lot of employers, they love to have us on site during lunch breaks to set up a table. And so we give out swag. We talk to them about these resources and make sure that they're registered. And a lot of times we're recruiting people for van pools. We've got people that want to start a van pool. And so we're trying to get other employees interested and willing to join. Sometimes it's, just getting in the warehouses, for example, there's those TV screens around. And so we can send slides that show them how to get registered or how, what other alternative transportation options there are in their area. So it is just really simply them partnering with us. They don't pay anything, they're not required to do anything specific. They choose what works best for them. I believe you all should know about this program, but just in case you haven't heard, we do partner with Bike Indianapolis for the Bike Buddy program. And we have folks that we're registering anytime we get the opportunity, especially Car Free Day will be a popular time for that. And in May, we register a lot for Bike Month, but we have people that are willing to volunteer their time, people much like yourself, if you're not already volunteering to do so, who are willing to take their expertise in biking and teach others who have not been exposed to it quite as much. Someone such as myself, I really enjoy riding my bike recreationally, but if I had to bike all the way from Plainfield to downtown to my office, I probably wouldn't be the safest person. I wouldn't know exactly how I should communicate my turning. I wouldn't know what to do if I had a flat tire. So I should probably get a bike buddy myself, but it's a free resource for people so they can learn from people such as yourself that are more educated in all those things. And it's a pretty cool program because people they can get together as often as they like. We do send an email where we suggest, hey, we suggest this many days a month and we suggest meeting this many times, and that mentor will find out what kind of things they want to learn. And sometimes it becomes a thing where they start writing together and they become buddies, and next thing you know, they're going to bike parties together and they're coming to see Connie at events. And so it's pretty neat because then the cycle can keep going and that new rider can teach others as well. So definitely a great program, and if that's something that you want to be a mentor, we would love that. It is, something you do out of the goodness of your heart, but definitely rewarding to see someone adopt biking as a form of transportation and to bring that into their routine more. That's something you can tell me or tell Connie or Tess if you're more interested in learning more on that. Want to make sure you know we also have a school pool program. It's no secret that the schools are struggling with bus transportation, and we do have schools around central Indiana that do not have bus transportation for one reason or another. And so this is another program to help lower emissions. I know when I take my kiddos to school in Plainfield, that line of drop-off cars wraps all the way around the school into the road. I don't know how many parents show up an hour before school gets out and they're sitting there idling and listening to music and playing on their phone, well, just to be the first person in line. And for example, this morning I dropped off my daughter because it happened to be on my way to work and she had pictures, so she wanted every last minute to get her hair just right. So seeing all those cars, I mean, they're packed, 2 lanes wide, and at the middle school, at my son's school, it's 3 lanes of cars, and there is bus transportation there. But what can we do to reduce those amount of cars and to get people to share the ride? And this is a great answer for that. It's something where we partner with the schools, so a parent can't just say like, "Hey, find me a match." We would talk to the school, and we get families that want to opt in. And so if the families opt in, those that do will receive a potential match list. My neighborhood, for example, has hundreds of houses, and when I do drop off or pick up my kids for one reason or another, guess who I see in line? I see my neighbors in front of or behind me, and so why not share the ride? Why not get these kiddos in a car together and take turns and take some of that frustration and give time back to the parents too. So if you know anyone, a school that would benefit from this, especially part of our problem is just getting the right contacts. We'll contact the principal and the principal's like, oh no, sorry, like we're not the decision maker on that. So we'll contact the superintendent and they're like, oh, it's up to the schools. And we kind of get the runaround there when it comes to this program. But we do have starting this fall, we have 20 schools participating in Central Indiana. So that is double what we had for the previous school year. So we're very happy with the growth there and always looking to add more schools. They don't have to start at the beginning of the school year if you know someone interested. I do want to mention our County Connect programs. That's one of my babies now in my mobility management role. But just want to make sure you know that we do partner with the different counties across central Indiana. There is a transportation option such as, there's Go Express, there's Access Johnson County, Link Hendricks County, Janus, all these different counties have their own forms of transportation, often for those that are seniors or with a disability, but some of them are also just public transportation for anyone that wants to use it. So we come together quarterly as a group and all of those that lead these agencies, and we try to find ways to share best practices, to talk about ways to continue improving transportation and providing transportation options, especially for those people that don't have it or that are seniors or those with disabilities. And so, for example, we are working on a pilot right now between Hancock and Hamilton County, where so we found out that a lot of these agencies use the same database, the same software. And so we started thinking, we get these calls at our office and people will say, hey, I'm helping my mom out. She has a doctor's appointment in Hamilton County, in, whatever town, but we're coming from Boone County. And what happens is a lot of these agencies are bound by their county lines. And so their funding says, hey, you can give people transportation, but you can't cross the county line, or it's against, your funding. So we want to provide an easier experience for people, because if they call us and say we're interested in getting grandma from Boone County to Hamilton County and what's the best way, well, a lot of times we're like, well, you could take this agency to this point, but then you're at the line and then you got to get them to come and get you from there, and you're taking multiple trips and calling multiple agencies. And we want to make it easier for people. So this pilot between Hamilton County and Hancock County is we have a meeting place set aside for the two counties. And so someone would be able to call CERTA and we would act as the dispatch. We would have access to both of their databases to see if they're available to do a ride, and have the drivers meet at a location that's safe and covered, and they'd be expected to stay with them until the next driver gets there, so that they're only doing one call, one click. And it's a better experience for those that need the transportation. It would still have costs associated with it, like cost of the ride, but it still would be subsidized as well. So that is a pilot that we are in the planning process. We're very close to making it live. I was hoping it would be Q1 of 2025, but it looks like we're going to go into Q2 of 2025. But the long-term goal would be that there's regional transportation options for all of the counties where they could call the dispatch and get across the county lines without having to make a lot of calls and having that headache. So that's an exciting update for you to share. This network of counties, like I said, we meet regularly. I also go across the different counties and meet with all the agencies one-on-one to make sure they have all the support they need, whether it's in grant writing or whether it's in customer service type training, however we can support them. Another program, I know we've got a lot of programs, but I'm almost through them all, I promise, and they all serve a great purpose. And the My Freedom program is a really good partnership we have with Sequoia. Sequoia and us, we are able to provide discounted trips for seniors and those with a disability of any kind at all, and it can go cross county. So this is another partnership with Z-Trip. If someone needs to do a similar trip to what I was just telling you about, we are able to help them through this program. And so they send the Z-Trip out to them. there is a cost associated, but we have found that almost always it's less than taking an Uber. So that's part of the reason. It's like some people are like, well, why wouldn't they just call and do an Uber if they have to pay? Well, we do help subsidize the cost of that with our grant money. So it is more affordable and anybody can use it that's age 60 or older or a disability of any kind whatsoever. And then it can be used for any purpose. So it's not just for medical purposes, it could be social, whatever reason they want. There is more information on the website if you want to provide that resource to someone else. That program just launched back in September and it continues to grow the more people hear about it. It's been a great resource. And finally, the Workforce Connector. Oh, if someone can get connected to the downtown transit center with Indigo, they can take a shuttle that goes out to Plainfield or Whitestown to connect to higher paying jobs. And so this is a service that's anybody can do it, but most often it's used by Marion County residents because we've found that it provides the employers a bigger pool of candidates to connect people to their jobs, but then also it provides people more options for jobs and a lot of times higher paying jobs. So jobs, for example, out in Plainfield, oftentimes, they're paying like $22 an hour in some cases, where it would be a lot less in some cases in other areas. This was started by initially some FTA startup funds, but it's also supported by the economic improvement districts in Plainfield and Whitestown. And they started back in 2020. It used to be that it's $1 each way, but for this year, it is $0. So our ridership keeps increasing. We're at about 1,600 riders per month of people that are connecting to jobs out in Plainfield and Whitestown. And the long-term goal would be to have these workforce connectors in other areas as well and help people, get out to higher paying jobs. I've had the opportunity since I've become the mobility manager to go and interview people that ride. And sometimes as you're doing your job, you forget, you're doing the back end stuff, the reporting how the grants are going, and you're doing all these back end things. And until you go and talk to people and you hear what a difference it's making in their life. And these folks that say, if I didn't have this job, I wouldn't be able to support my family. Or they say, I've been writing this workforce connector for 7 years, and I'm so grateful to have this opportunity because otherwise I wouldn't make what I make an hour and be able to, accommodate my family the way I want to. I mean, hearing those real life stories and knowing it makes a difference is cool. So I'm at my thank you slide, but something I have to tell you, what Connie mentioned is that next week is Car Free Day. It's technically the 22nd, but we are celebrating here at CERTA on Thursday with a great event on Monument Circle. I hope that you're able to join us because from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. and then 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., we will have the Spark Space for CERTA. We have a live band. We have Colts cheerleaders coming. We'll have some snacky type food and water. So if you are riding your bike, I encourage you to come and ride your bike and see us. If you're just working in the downtown area and you want to walk over and see us, that would be great. It is always a good time, and there's a chance to win a $250 gift card. If you're not registered already, if you are, you can fill out that form again and we'll put you in the stack of people to be drawn. But it's always a great time. So Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. and 11 to 1 p.m. And I know I covered a lot, so I will, if you want to look at anything on the website, it's certa.us, www.certa.us, and I'm always happy to answer any questions too. Do we have any questions?
Yes, we do. Yeah, we do have one. Are you able to pick up bicyclists who have experienced a bicycle malfunction, such as a flat tire?
One of the things that we run into is when you get your voucher for the emergency ride home, you have to print it at your employer's, or at your office, for example, like if you have an office, because you have to get logged in. You have to have a physical printed voucher, and it works same day. So if that were to happen, as long as you're close enough to print your voucher, yes, but I think that would kind of defeat the purpose. We are looking at some new options, and that's one reason why is because we want to be able to accommodate the cyclists better. But at least you know if you were to bike to work and then maybe you get sick at work, or you have to go get your kiddo who's sick at school. Like obviously you're not gonna likely ride your bike and then get the kiddo. So you would be able to use the emergency ride home, but Gary, it does pose an issue if you're out on the trails and something happens. But that's good feedback though to hear you asking that, and because I know it's important. And thank you for sharing that information, Connie. It is a great event, so I hope that you guys can join us. And we have a couple media channels that might be popping in, especially early. They like to come, and so it will be a good time. And thank you, Tess. I saw you shared stuff too. I think you're muted, Connie.
Unmute myself. So I'm going to share my screen. If I can find it. So this is the Car Free Day Indy web page. So you can go to commuterconnect.us.carfreedayindy. I did carfreedayindy.org and this page came up, so you can do it that way too. But you can go ahead and register, and gives all sorts of information. There is also a corporate challenge, so you might want to get your fellow employees, give them some incentives to participate. And there's, some toolkits, which I've shared actually with Bicycle Garage Indy folks.
Thank you.
And in
Yeah,
our
we know it's
newsletter
not an
last week.
option for everyone to go car free. I mentioned I live in Plainfield, so I will, I will drive into downtown, but once I'm downtown, I'm, walking to Monument Circle, and then we encourage people to combine trips if they can carpool, if whatever they can do. So if you want to share about Car Free Day next week, that's a great message to share with people, especially living in Indiana, when not everyone's going to jump on their bike or jump on a bus, but they can make choices to combine trips or ride with someone.
Yeah, carpooling counts. And then also car light, being car light that day, being more mindful of when you're actually feeling like you need to drive, or changing your activities that day so that you don't have to drive that day. Always helps as well. Let's see, any other questions from people? I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I don't think I see anything else in the chat. So this will be posted. I forgot to do who the Cycle Commuter Task Force is. It is Bike Indianapolis, Bicycle Garage Indy, Central Indiana Bicycling Association, and Commuter Connect. So we all work together to plan the lunch and learns and some of the other activities, which we had earlier this year. We had some active transportation meetups, which we'll probably continue doing next year. We did them in, I think, June, July, and August. We did one in February. Tess, you'll have to see if my memory is right, but we did quite a few of those this year. Yeah, so we did February, and then we did some. We might have done one in April. I can't remember. But we did them at different locations. We started, and then we'd explore the different newer trail or bike infrastructure that was nearby. So our last one was in August, but we'll probably do that again as well. It's kind of a preamble and postamble to Bike to Work Day. And we didn't do one this month because we have Car Free Day Indy. So, that's our active transportation meetup for September. So encourage everybody to come down to Monument Circle next week, and we'll see you all there. So if there are no other questions, thank you so much, Amanda, for all the information. I always learn something new that Commuter Connect is doing, because you're doing a lot of different things, and it's really great to see.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So I will let everybody go. Have a wonderful rest of your day and keep bicycling.
Thanks, Connie. Thanks, Amanda.